The night of September 7th, 1996 should have been another triumph. Tupac Shakur, the undisputed king of hip-hop, was riding high after Mike Tyson's victory at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. He sat in the passenger seat of Death Row Records. CEO Suge Knight's black BMW 750IL. The neon lights of the Strip, painting the interior in flashes of electric color. At a red light on Flamingo Road, a white Cadillac pulled up alongside them. A window rolled down. 4 shots rang out, then 8 more. Then a final 416 bullets in total. One struck Tupac in the chest, piercing his lung. He would die 6 days later. The crime was witnessed by dozens. The victim was the most famous rapper in the world. Yet, nearly 3 decades later, the case remains cold. The murder of Tupac Shakur is not just an unsolved homicide. It is a sprawling American epic of fame, violence, greed, and the shadows where the music industry meets the street. To understand the shooting, you must first understand the war. The East Coast-West Coast hip-hop rivalry was more than just musical competition. It was a bloody feud fueled by pride, media manipulation, and genuine animosity. Tupac, now signed to Death Row Records in Los Angeles, was the fiery champion of the West. Across the country, the notorious B.I.G. and Bad Boy Records represented the East. The tension was palpable, played out in diss tracks and music videos, but it was rooted in something far more dangerous. Both camps had deep ties to street gangs, the Bloods, affiliated with Death Row, and the Crips, whom some alleged had ties to Bad Boy. This wasn't just a rap battle. It was a proxy war. The fuse was lit earlier that very night. As Tupac and Suge Knight were heading to Club 662, Tupac spotted Orlando Bobby Lane Anderson, a known Southside Crip, in the MGM Grand lobby. Just months earlier, Anderson and a group of Crips had allegedly robbed a Death Row associate in a Foot Locker store. Seeing his chance for retaliation, Tupac led a vicious attack on Anderson, with the entire brawl captured on the casino's security cameras. This was not a random act of violence. It was a targeted hit on a rival gang member in a city teeming with them. The narrative the police would later push that the shooting was a random act of robbery gone wrong ignored this crucial public provocation. The investigation was plagued by problems from the start. The lead detective, Brent Becker, later admitted that the no-snitching code of the streets was a formidable wall. Potential witnesses, many of them from the hip-hop world or the gang underworld, were terrified. Suge Knight, a key witness, was notoriously uncooperative. But the obstacles ran deeper than street codes. Conspiracy theories began to sprout almost immediately. Some pointed the finger directly at Suge Knight himself, suggesting he had orchestrated the hit to free himself from a lucrative but restrictive contract with Tupac. Others wove a more complex web, implicating the NYPD and the federal government in a plot to eliminate a powerful, politically conscious black voice, pointing to Tupac's past with the Black Panthers and his increasingly revolutionary lyrics. The most persistent theory, however, involves Christopher Wallace, the notorious B.I.G. According to this narrative, Biggie, either directly or through his label head Sean Diddy Combs, hired the Crips, specifically Orlando Anderson, and his crew to assassinate his rival. This theory gained traction through extensive reporting, most notably by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Chuck Phillips. It paints a picture of a hit ordered in retaliation for Tupac's own alleged involvement in the robbery and shooting of Biggie's friend Randy Stretch Walker, and for the constant lyrical attacks. The logic was simple. A Crip killed Tupac as payback for the beating at the MGM. and they were possibly paid handsomely to do it. Yet, for all the theories, hard evidence was and remains elusive. Orlando Anderson was never formally charged. He was killed in an unrelated gang shooting in Compton in 1998, taking whatever knowledge he had to the grave. The Notorious B.I.G. was murdered in a chillingly similar drive-by shooting in Los Angeles just 6 months after Tupac, ensuring his silence forever. The two most famous rappers of a generation were dead, their murders mirror images, and both cases officially unsolved. The key players were disappearing one by one into the violence they so often rhymed about. For over 20 years, the case lay dormant, a cultural ghost haunting hip-hop. Then, in the summer of 2023, a seismic shift occurred. In a move that stunned the world, Las Vegas police raided a home in Henderson, Nevada, and arrested Duane Keffe D. Davis. Keffe D. was no minor figure. He was the uncle of Orlando Anderson and a self-proclaimed high-ranking member of the Southside Crips. In his 2019 memoir, Compton Street Legend, and in multiple online interviews, he had all but confessed. He detailed being in the white Cadillac that night, painting a picture of a gang hit spurred by the MGM Grand beating. He claimed he was given the green light to retaliate against Tupac and Suge. While he never explicitly said who pulled the trigger, his detailed account of procuring the weapon and being in the car was the closest thing to a break in the case in 27 years. Davis's arrest on a charge of murder with a deadly weapon was built on his own words. The prosecution alleges he is the on-ground, on-site commander who orchestrated the killing. For the first time, someone was facing a jury for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Yet, even with this dramatic development, the full truth remains murky. Keffe D's story has shifted over time. His motivation for speaking out, claiming he was dying of cancer and wanted to set the record, straight raised questions about his reliability. The trial promises to be a spectacle, a delayed reckoning for one of pop culture's darkest chapters, but it is unlikely to provide all the answers. It may confirm the who, but the deeper why, the intricate web of gang politics, industry pressure, and personal vendettas may never be fully untangled. The murder of Tupac Shakur endures because it is more than a crime. It is a symbol. It represents the deadly culmination of the East-West feud, a cautionary tale about the perils of fame and the violent realities that can lurk behind the art. It is a story of witness intimidation, investigative failures, and a conspiracy of silence that lasted for decades. The recent arrests offers a glimmer of hope for a form of justice, but the case remains, at its heart, a profound and tragic mystery. The shots fired on Flamingo Road didn't just kill a man, they created a legend, and the echo of those gunshots can still be heard today.